Morning to you. Fine morning, sun's coming up, no breeze. I'm gonna make this video about learning how to read the signs in your area and using them. Now, couldn't make this video if I didn't have my little thermocell. Keep mosquitoes off my butt because they are bad. You know, back when my grandparents were first moved out here into this swamp, they didn't have Channel 13 or Channel 8 to go to and get the weather and see what was going on. So they had to learn, how to predict it themselves. And they coming up, my grandma and my uncle and all, my aunt, they told me about how they read the signs. And the signs would tell them when to do certain things, when to plant, because they were farmers. And I paid heed to it and listened. And I have pretty well followed it, because the only thing, like I said, they had their interpretation of the signs and what was going around that they could see, and they relied on the Farmer's Almanac, which I've seen over the years reading it and checking, and they're pretty accurate, more so a lot of times than these meteorologists of today. But I noticed some things this year that were different than it's been in the last couple of years, and pointed out to my son, and he's just like, Dad, you crazy as a sprayed roach sometimes. Well, that may be true. Um, I told him that we're going to have an early cool off this year. Winter's going to come a little early. Well, down here in Central Florida, we don't have much of a winter no way, but we do have killing frost and stuff that'll wipe out your garden. But one of the things I noticed living here on this same property now for coming up on 69 years, I've picked up on things and tried to remember. What tipped me off this year was I have longleaf pines here in my yard, and always about the middle of August, the squirrels start cutting the pine cones out. Now the pine cones ain't opened up, but they start cutting them pine cones, and they gnaw them down and eat the seeds out because the seeds are already mature. Before the pine cone opens up and lets the seeds out. Well, this year I started seeing them husking out them pine cones in the middle of July. About a month early. Got looking around then. My Japanese plum in July bloomed. It's putting on fruit. That normally don't happen till September, October. Whatever reason, it's putting it on now. The one sign that, because I always asked them, I said, well, how do you know if you can plant in the fall and have enough time to make your corn and peas? And they said, well, that's simple. Said, you start in August, and the first foggy morning in August, count 120 days. That'll be from that point on, you'll have, cold enough weather to hurt your crop. Well, last year, we didn't have a foggy morning until almost the last day of August. I was able to plant corn, peas, beans. Didn't lose anything to the cold. This year, of course, every summer I go to watching, about August. Well, this year, that first foggy morning never come in August. It came in the middle of July. Normally it's not foggy in the middle of July around here. This year we had a heavy fog in the middle of July. So if that holds true, there ain't no need for me to plant no corn or peas now because it ain't gonna have time to make. Now the other sign they showed me was when to plant in the spring. And we have all kinds of trees around here: sweet gums, maples, live oaks, water oaks, pine trees, swamp cabbage. We got all kinds of trees, and elms and ironwoods. Well, a lot of times they'll bust out at the end of January, 1st of February. Well, you can't go by that because they bud first. They bud early. Well, the tree that last to bud is a cypress tree. And on down this slough back in here, over by where my uncle used to live, there's some old cypress trees that were there when they came. They're huge. And my uncle showed me the one. He said, "Now you watch that one right there. When it buds, plant. You're good." And he ain't never been wrong. I went by that tree, for the last 30, 40 years, and he ain't never been wrong about that. That tree don't bud until there ain't gonna be no more cold weather, no more frost. Now it's what we call a white cypress. We have pond cypress, which is the ball or the red cypress, but the white cypress only grows where there is moving water. It'll grow alongside of a creek or river, stuff like that, because the pond cypress is different. But now they bud the same time. But I'm just saying that particular tree is a white cypress. Now, I also found out that the cypress that people buy and plant in their ponds, for landscaping, they bud way early. Don't never go buy one of them. Got to find you an old, natural grown, you know, cypress swamp, and you'll be all right. But anyhow, my granddaddy used to keep a ledger. I would have given anything to got my hands on it. And what he did, he wrote down every spring what the weather was like, whether it was wet or dry. Was the summers dry? Was the summers wet? Was the winters wet? Were they dry? Blah, blah, blah. And what he would do after he did that for 7 years, according to him, every 7 years, the weather repeats itself. And when he got ready to plant that year, he would go back 7 years in his ledger. Okay, it was a wet spring. So when he planted up on a bed. Or if it said it was a dry spring, he planted down in the fur. According to my uncle and my dad, they said he had it down pat, but I don't know whatever happened to that thing. But I don't know. I thought about doing it, but hell, it's too late now. So what the heck. But anyhow, learn your area and try to pay attention to what goes on in nature, because I believe it'll benefit you. We are just part of the ecosystem, as much as most people want to deny it. We're here just like the cats and the dogs and the pigs and whatever. Yeah, do your job, buddy. All right, but you know, get you an almanac, Old Farmer's Almanac for the year. Read what it says. Pay attention to your signs. See if you can't figure them out where you live, because they're going to be different everywhere. But all right, well, if you have any thoughts on it, mark it down in the comments, and let's see what we can come up with. All right, it's old Florida Cracker. I'll catch you next time.